She was 6 feet tall, carried 2 pistols, smoked cigars, and drank whiskey stronger than most men in town. But she wasn't an outlaw, and she wasn't a sheriff. She was Stagecoach Mary, the first black woman mail carrier of the Wild West, a fearless woman whose legend still echoes more than a century later. Mary Fields was born into slavery in Tennessee around 1832. Her childhood was marked by hardship, chains, and endless labor. When the Civil War ended, she was freed, but freedom was not an easy road. Opportunities for a black woman in America were nearly non-existent. Yet Mary was not the kind to stay in the shadows. She worked on steamboats, did laundry, and took any job that would keep her moving forward. And every step shaped her into someone unbreakable. Her life changed when she crossed paths with a nun named Mother Amadeus. The two formed a deep bond, and when the nun was sent to Montana to establish a mission, Mary followed. When Mother Amadeus fell gravely ill, Mary nursed her back to health, proving her loyalty and strength. At the mission, Mary took on the hardest jobs: hauling lumber, repairing buildings, driving wagons, work that most men struggled to do. The nuns admired her, but others whispered and mocked. They called her White Crow because she acted like a white man, but had black skin. Mary wore the name like armor, but trouble always seemed to follow her. Mary's fiery temper clashed with men who thought they could boss her around. In one incident, an argument escalated until guns were drawn. The church leadership had enough. Mary was expelled from the mission and left to make her own way in Cascade, Montana. She opened a tavern, but her generosity ruined it. She gave away too much food to people who couldn't pay. She laughed at the loss because money had never been her goal. Then, at an age when most people slowed down, Mary made her boldest move. In her 60s, she applied for a U.S. Star Route mail contract. That meant driving a stagecoach across miles of unforgiving wilderness, through blizzards, across rivers, with bandits and wolves lurking in the dark. It was a job young men refused to take. But Mary got the contract, becoming the first black woman mail carrier in U.S. history. From that moment on, she was no longer just Mary Fields. She became Stagecoach Mary. Armed with a revolver under her apron and a shotgun at her side, she drove her coach across Montana's wildest trails. When the snow grew too deep for the wheels, she strapped on snowshoes, hoisted the heavy sacks of mail onto her back, and walked for miles until every letter was delivered. When wolves circled, she stood guard with her pistol. When outlaws threatened, she stared them down until they backed away. The people came to trust her. They knew that no matter the storm, no matter the danger, if Stagecoach Mary carried the mail, it would arrive. One story tells of her coach tipping over in a snowdrift. Most people would have abandoned the load and sought shelter. Mary worked through the night, riding the stagecoach and guarding the mail with her shotgun. By morning, she was back on the road as if nothing had happened. In town, she became just as legendary. Children adored her. They ran to her stagecoach, shouting her name, begging for stories. She'd puff on her cigar and tell them about wolves, bandits, and frozen nights. She never had children of her own, but the town's children became her family. When Montana banned women from saloons, the mayor signed a special law just for her, making Stagecoach Mary the only woman in town legally allowed to drink alongside the men. That's how respected she was. She never married. She never lived the ordinary life expected of women at the time. But she lived freely, loudly, and on her own terms. She gave food to the hungry, cared for neighbors, and became a figure Cascade could not imagine life without. When her house burned down, the townsfolk rebuilt it for her. By then, Mary wasn't just a legend, she was the heart of the community. In 1903, after years of riding the dangerous trails, Mary finally retired from the mail route at the age of 71. She lived out her final years in Cascade, running a laundry business, babysitting children, and telling stories of the old days. On December 5, 1914, at over 80 years old, Stagecoach Mary passed away. But the people never forgot her. At her funeral, the church overflowed with people from all walks of life, black, white, rich, poor, all united in honoring the woman who had defied every barrier and lived with courage unmatched. Stagecoach Mary's story is more than a Wild West tale. It's a reminder that legends aren't just gunslingers or sheriffs. Sometimes they are women who carried mail through storms, who stared down wolves, who lived boldly in a world that told them not to. She was born into slavery but died a free woman, respected, and remembered as one of the toughest figures of the frontier. And even today, when the wind howls across the Montana plains, you can imagine her spirit riding still, the crack of her whip, the echo of her laughter, the fearless stride of the woman history tried to forget, but who refused to be erased. Stagecoach Mary, a legend forever.